I have a confession to make. I am a terrible handyman. My loving wife of 20 years has had to put up with me building her projects as presents that really, if we're honest about it, are pretty much garbage. I've built her planter boxes for her to put flowers in, and they don't measure even. The corners aren't square. I'm just bad at it. I've hung pictures in the house in not quite the right place that aren't exactly level. I mean, my heart is in the right place and I mean well. I just can't seem to follow through. And here's the worst part. I like to watch home improvement shows. I like to watch how to do this sort of thing. I like to see renovations happen. And when I watch, the worst part is I start to think I can do it. I start to think that just having the information is enough for me. Maybe I'm not such a bad handyman after all. Maybe I'm not so bad with a saw and a measuring tape and a pencil. Maybe I could actually do all of those things that I've always wanted to do for her. But you know what? I just don't have the skills, but I have the information. You know, Jesus, we've been talking about how his words can change our lives. But I want to give you a caution today. That if we let Jesus be Jesus and we start to listen to what he actually says in scriptures, get rid of our preconceptions, get rid of some of the hurt we've had in the past or bad experiences we've had with Christians, and let Jesus be Jesus, when we hear his words, we can't let it just be information. We've got to move on it. We've got to let that information actually change how we live. Jesus says it this way. He says in Matthew chapter 7, "Therefore, everyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice is like a wise man who built his house on the rock. The rain came down, the streams rose, and the winds blew and beat against that house. Yet it did not fall because it had its foundation on the rock." What does it mean to have your foundation on the rock? Listen to what he said again. "Everyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice." Now, we know what happens if you don't build your house on a solid foundation. What if you went to the beach and built it on the sand? Jesus says it this way, "But everyone who hears these words of mine and does not put them into practice is like a foolish man who built his house on sand. The rain came down, the streams rose, and the winds blew and beat against that house, and it fell with a great crash." I'm betting you know what this feels like. Because if you're like most of us, there's been a relationship in your life, maybe a person in your life that you built a foundation on and that you trusted was solid, and found out that they were shifting sand and your life came crashing down. For others of you, it may be a business that you started or tried to build, or an idea you never got off the ground. Maybe it was a promotion or even just a job that you wanted to have, that you built your hope and your future on, and yet nothing lasts forever. That shifting sand shifted and everything came tumbling down. I want to ask you today, what would it look like if you built your life on Christ? Not just learning about him, not just hearing about him, not even just reading his words, but actually putting into practice what it is that he said. What if your life was built on something that would never fail and that could never leave you? What if Jesus, the real Jesus, not preconception Jesus, not misunderstood Jesus, not fit Jesus into my life Jesus, but the real Jesus? What if you heard his words and you put them into practice? Last time we talked about how it's not about being perfect. It's about moving in your faith, in action, and seeing Christ succeed in your life and grow new life in you and turn you more into what he is. Start to transform your life to match his more. As you think about that, I want to caution you to be careful not to let reading the words of God be all that you do, but to put it into practice, even if it's imperfectly at first. Because you have to build your life on your trust and your faith in Jesus. But every act of faith has to be followed by actions in your life. So today, I want to ask you what you would do different. to follow Jesus? Would it be about his teachings on lust, that looking at something and lusting after it is just as bad as actually committing adultery? Would it be about anger, that hating someone is just as bad in your heart as murder? Would it be about trusting him in the hardest of times, loving your neighbor as yourself, forgiving your brother 70 times, 7 times? What would be the teaching of Jesus that might be hard for you that you need to start putting in practice today? I want to continue to have a conversation with you about what God is doing in your life. Leave your comments, your questions, and your prayer requests here with this video so that we can personally respond to you. I also want you to be having conversations with people in your life about what God is doing. Will you share this video with them and then have a conversation with them about what's going on in their relationship with Jesus?